commentators, and the experts. All facts laid bare. From Nigeria to the rest of the globe, we deliver the news on time and in time. This is Globe 5 on Adamamogo 93.1 FM, Lekki, Lagos.
Good afternoon, this is Globe File on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM Lagos. I am Ogi Mark. The headlines: Presidency refutes plan to rename Nigeria, abolish Sharia law. Africa Summit in India postponed over Ebola outbreak fears. Greenlanders protest against Trump outside new U.S. consulate. And now the news in detail from the center. The presidency has dismissed as false a viral report claiming that President Bola Tinubu plans to initiate constitutional amendment aimed at changing Nigeria's name to the United States of Nigeria and abolishing Sharia law in the north, among other allegations. Presidential spokesperson Bayo Ononuga, in a statement, described the report as fake and politically motivated, accusing unnamed politicians of attempting to create tension and destabilize the country ahead of the general elections. Ononuga said the story, which relied on anonymous sources, is a part of a deliberate effort to stir political unrest, generate public disaffection, and overheat the polity in the build-up to the elections. The presidential aide also denied claims that President Tinubu plans to transmit any bill allegedly codenamed Project True Federation to the National Assembly by December 15th, shortly before the general elections. He said President Tinubu remains focused on implementing and consolidating the economic reforms introduced by his administration with the aim of delivering tangible benefits to Nigerians. Outside Nigeria to the rest of Africa, the India-Africa Forum Summit, scheduled next week, has been cancelled due to the Ebola crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. The fourth edition of the summit, which fosters diplomatic interactions between India and countries of the African continent, was set to be held in Delhi from 28 to 30th May after more than a decade. India and the African Union said in a joint statement that a new date for the summit would be announced later. The move comes days after the World Health Organization (WHO) declared the latest Ebola outbreak a public health emergency of international concern, with about 600 suspected cases of Ebola so far and 139 suspected deaths. Meanwhile, an angry crowd set fire to a section of a hospital at the epicenter of the Ebola outbreak in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo after family and friends of a young man thought to have died from the virus were prevented from taking his body away for burial. Confirming the incident, local politicians Luke Malembe said the crowd, who did not believe the virus, which has so far killed more than 130 in the eastern DR Congo, set fire to tents used as isolation wards, prompting the police to fire warning shots to disperse the crowd.
After an alert at headquarters that there was a disturbance of public order at the Rampura Health Center, we rushed to see the reality of the situation on the ground. On our arrival, I think you are witnesses with us. We saw the damage. There are tents with 8 beds that had been set up as part of the response to the Ebola virus disease, which have been completely burned. And then there is a body that was due to be buried during the day, which was also burned. And this is precisely a misunderstanding due to young people who do not understand the reality of this disease.
Security Coordinator Jean-Claude Mukendi said the man who died was a popular figure in the local community, and those upset by his death did not grasp the reality of the disease. Congolese Foreign Minister Teresa Kayinwamba Wagner called the incident a frightening situation for communities to be in, stating that it is normal that all sorts of reactions are triggered. See to come on Globe File. Greenlanders protest against Trump outside new U.S. consulate. To stay with us.
You can listen to Adami Mogo 93.1 FM from any part of the world. Download the Adami Mogo 931 FM app from Google Play Store and Radio Garden, and follow us on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have eyewitness stories or exclusive to share, contact the Adami Mogo FM newsroom via mail at newsroom@adamimogofm.com, or you can dial 070-634-03583. You can dial 090-319-69629. Adami Mogo 93.1 FM Lagos, voice of the light.
Glad you're still there. Now to the rest of the news. The United States sanctioned a senior Tanzanian police official over allegations linked to the torture and sexual assault of East African rights activist Boniface Mwangi and Agatha Atuhaire last year. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the State Department had designated Faustine Jackson Mafuele based on credible information that he was involved in gross violations of human rights. Tanzania Foreign Affairs Minister Mahmoud Thabit Kombo said the government was yet to receive the formal designation which bars Mafuele from entering the U.S. The sanction comes amid growing scrutiny of Tanzania's human rights record, with U.S. lawmakers calling for tougher actions. Meanwhile, Cuba poses a national security threat to the United States, and the likelihood of a peaceful agreement is not high. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio disclosed this, stating that Washington's preference is a diplomatic solution, but warned that President Donald Trump has the right and obligation to protect his country against any threats.
I'm not going to comment on military matters or national security threats directly linked to the United States in specificity. Here's what I can tell you. Cuba not only has weapons that they've acquired from Russia and China over the years, but they also host Russia and Chinese intelligence presence in their country, not far from where we're standing right now. So Cuba has always posed a national security threat to the United States. They, by the way, have been one of the leading sponsors of terrorism in the entire region.
His comment come a day after the U.S. charged Cuba's former president Raul Castro with murder over the 1996 downing of two planes, resulting in the killing of U.S. nationals. Earlier, Cuba's Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez criticized Rubio for trying to instigate a military aggression and accused the U.S. government of ruthlessly and systematically attacking his country. Cuba is suffering from a fuel crisis exacerbated by an effective U.S. oil blockade, while under pressure from the Trump administration to make a deal. On diplomacy, the United States has unveiled plans to send an additional 5,000 troops to Poland, a week after Pentagon canceled the planned deployment of 4,000 troops to the country. In a post on Truth Social, President Donald Trump said the decision is based on the U.S. relationship with Polish President Karol Nawrocki, whom he backed during presidential elections last year. However, Trump did not provide further details on whether the additional troops are part of the previous planned deployment or a different operation. The White House had signaled in recent weeks that it intends to reduce its overall troops levels in Europe as part of its America First agenda. In the meantime, the United States is pausing a $14 billion arms sale to Taiwan to ensure it has enough weapons for the Iranian war. Acting Navy Secretary Hong Kao disclosed these days after President Trump appeared in non-committal about the sale following his meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. A spokesperson for Taiwan's presidential office said that they had not received any information about the U.S. adjustment to the arms sale. The $14 billion package has been waiting for Trump's approval for months. It includes air defense missiles such as Lockheed Martin's PAC-3 and surface-to-air missile systems. Meanwhile, hundreds of Greenlanders gathered outside a new American consulate in the capital Nuuk today to protest against Donald Trump's ambition for greater influence over the island, and after Special Presidential Envoy Jeff Landry's visit. The inauguration of the new consulate in Landry's visit come amid efforts to ease diplomatic tensions after the U.S. president's demand to control the island because of national security concerns. Organizers of the protests, Kwalukuk Fontaine, along other protested, reiterated the island's resistance to Trump's encroachment, chanting, "Greenland is not for sale."
I have arranged it precisely because the new consulate opens today and there will be coverage from the US. So the purpose is to make the American people understand that Greenland is a democratic country, and in a democratic country, no means no.
The consulate moved from a wooden cabin to a much larger high-rise. The new 3,000 square meter consulate takes up a prominent location in the middle of downtown Nuuk. And now Malaysia is set to introduce new measures from June 1 to protect children and reduce the exposure to harmful content on online platforms. The country's communication regulator said the new rules would require online service providers to include safeguards that limit account registration and ownership by users under the age of 16. It will also require stronger implementation of content governance on their platforms. And on sports, Alvaro Arbeloa has confirmed he will leave his role as Real Madrid coach at the end of a trophy-less season. He made the statement following widespread reports that veteran manager Jose Mourinho is returning to the club. Real Madrid president Florentino Perez appointed Arbeloa to replace Xabi Alonso in January. The Spaniard Arbeloa said he would not work as a member of Mourinho's staff if the Portuguese coach is appointed as his successor. Before we bring Globe File to an end, here is a recap of the biggest stories. I told you the presidency has dismissed as false a viral report claiming that President Bola Tinubu plans to initiate constitutional amendment aimed at changing Nigeria's name to the United States of Nigeria and abolishing Sharia law in the north. We also told you India-Africa Forum Summit scheduled to hold next week has been cancelled due to the Ebola crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. It was also in the news that hundreds of Greenlanders gathered outside a new American consulate in the capital Nuuk to protest against Donald Trump's ambition for greater influence over the island and after Special Presidential Envoy Jeff Landry's visit. And that's the size of our package this afternoon on Globe File. On behalf of the production team, I am Ogboi Mark. Do join us at 2 o'clock for more stories on the briefing on our Dummy Mogo 93.1 FM